Hey everyone, this is Brian Cozier, joined by my friend and business partner, Sean Casey, and we have another Wednesday marketing webinar for you. And this week we'll basically be talking about what we've learned after spending hundreds of thousands of bucks advertising on Facebook. So we've spent a lot of money. I'm not sure on the exact amount offhand, but I know it's into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, at least right there. And there's a lot of stuff that we learned after all that time. Some of it might be, stuff that you may have seen or heard about other experts talk about, whereas some other stuff might be the complete opposite of what others said. That's just a bunch of observations we've had of our own, as well as from basically other marketers that we know that we've talked to, that we've also helped marketing and also advertising on Facebook as well. And this is in a variety of different niches and as well right there. So oftentimes if you're in several niches, it's a bit easier to see like certain trends and basically pick up on tips and stuff like that. So some pretty good info for you on this call. And towards the end of it, we have a freebie for you as well, where we'll actually give you a free tool to actually help you with some stuff right there. So, and of course, not only will you get the free tool, you also have a chance to win $100 live towards the end of this call as well. So stay tuned for that there. Oh, looks like it's slide didn't go. Let's see here. There it goes, I think. Why aren't you moving? All right, for some reason my slide isn't moving to the next slide, so.
That's because you have a Mac.
Give me a sec, there it goes, all right. That was really weird, I clicked it like 3 times, it did not move. All right, so now that we're moving along on these slides right here, just a reminder that these calls are every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, which is right about now, where we'll have a live training and or Q&A call for you guys. If you're here or you're registered for this series, you'll get a reminder each week so you don't forget. If you can't make one, we'll have the recordings in the members area within a day of any of the calls under the training tab on the left side navigation bar. So you click on training, then you click on Wednesday calls, and you'll see a list of them right there with the most recent ones at the top. Sharon also will post the replays on the Facebook group page as well, which I'll give you a link to that in just a second. I know most of you are free members of that group right there. If not, you could join right now, right here, to get a chance to win, and also see the replays and stuff right there. But to join the free group, you have to go to getwebfire.com/FB group. That will forward you to the Facebook link for the Facebook group page. Just click join if you're not a free member of that, and you'll probably get approved within like a few minutes if you do so right now, or basically during this call right here. And towards the end of the call, we'll give you a chance to win $100 as well, and we'll give you the instructions on how to do that towards the end of this call right here, and we'll actually do that live here. So now let's move on to our training for the week, where we'll basically talk about what we've learned from spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on advertising on Facebook. So for the overview, we'll basically go over a bunch of Facebook ad tips. Then we'll give you a free tool that can actually help you with the Facebook ads and actually do a lot of stuff that we actually teach you on right here. So you'll get that for free. Then we'll have a shorter Q&A because we have a lot of content on this call right here, and then we'll give some cash away. So moving along right into the tips. First and foremost, never assume that you know your market. And of course, a lot of these tips can apply outside of Facebook ads as well, but this is specifically stuff especially that we've seen within Facebook and advertising to Facebook. So lots of advertisers will oftentimes think that they know their market, but they never dive into their stats or really research it to see. For instance, one expert thought that his market was younger guys in their 20s and 30s. And this was a guy that, he was a smart marketer, made a decent amount of money and all that. And, he insisted that, all his guys have to be, like him and in their 20s and 30s and stuff. And he didn't think that there'd be any interest in older people at all. But it turned out that it was people well into their 50s and 60s. And it was very few that were in their 30s and even less that were in their 20s. So he was initially trying to exclusively market to what he thought was his clientele or his prospects, but it basically turned out it was the complete opposite of what was the case. Another example is at one point we sold some basically cable cords online. It was one of the many like random niches and stuff, and we had a really like funky one. It had like some crazy lights on it, and it was like a cable cord to charge a phone, and it looked really neat. And it was the kind of thing that we thought, man, if you were a teenager, this would probably be really awesome. So we thought, it would probably be like, people, like in their later teen years to like maybe in their 20s, maybe even the 30s, but probably not for like someone who's 60, because it was a bit more like funky and cool, like than what you'd probably think, an older person would like. Well, turned out it was the exact opposite case. It was the much older crowd in that case was also buying. Now, that's not always the case. In some cases, it might be the younger crowd, but never assume that you know your market, because you might think logically one thing makes complete sense, but the complete opposite might be the case. So never assume, even if you think, well, duh, of course, these would be the people that would buy this. Another example is actually know another person who was selling. Initially, it was like Valentine's Day gifts and stuff for women. So it was basically geared for a guy looking for a Valentine's gift for like his wife or like his girlfriend. So who would you think would be the target market? All right. So let's see what you guys say in the comments. So I'm curious. So if you're selling a product that's meant to be a gift for like a wife or a girlfriend, who would be your target market? So let's see what the comments say right here. All right, I'm just gonna switch to the questions. All right. So if you could just leave a comment in the chat. All right, John says men in relationships. Mike says a girl. Felix says men. All right, I'm seeing Perry says loved ones. D White says women. Partners, single men. Some say, or there's one that says married. Men and women. Ian says that they should target towards the one that wants it. Well, if there was an easy way to say basically target towards the one that wants this, everyone would do that. It's usually a little more hard than that. Dave says businesses. Reg says gardening enthusiasts. All right. All right. So lots and lots of different guesses and stuff there. And ironically, they initially thought that, of course, if you're looking to advertise gifts to buy a wife or a girlfriend, you'd probably want to advertise to people that you think would buy that, right? As in the men, or like maybe men in relationships or something like that, right? Well, in that case, it turned out that didn't work well. But what worked way better was targeting the women themselves. So now you might say, well, that doesn't make sense. Are they buying these Valentine's Day gifts for themselves? Is it like, basically out of pity? Are they like, oh, I won't get anything, so I'm going to buy myself some stuff? Or is it that they're sharing it with their boyfriend or husband and sending the idea on to them. Well, it turned out in the end, they thought, well, you know, maybe it was the single women that were buying, because lo and behold, it was the women that, you know, were making more sales. But when they dive into it, it wasn't even the single women. It was that the ones in relationships or ones that were married tended to be buying their own gifts. Now, again, you don't quite know why. You don't know if maybe they passed it on to a husband or a boyfriend who later bought, or what, because again, it doesn't necessarily track and tell you exactly who bought from, you know, that computer. Just says someone there, you know, bought there. But it turned out that there was a larger ROI in targeting the women. So the normal logical sense that a lot of you would probably think would be, of course, target the men in relationships or something along that extent right there. But turned out that wasn't the case at all. So never, ever, ever assume. And if you test a bunch of things and find a winner, don't try to think too hard on why that might be. Just go and follow the data. So again, just a few things to keep in mind right there. And you'll be shocked at the number of times that you'll see the complete opposite of what you thought turning out to be the case, even if it defies all logic and reason. The second tip here is don't assume you know where your best customers are. Oftentimes, marketers think that their best prospects might be local to their country or from the US or some other big economy country. And although oftentimes the larger countries have lots of prospects, they can be very competitive and drive up your advertising costs as well. So you should look for other countries that might also speak English, but if, of course, English is your market, but might not be among the top big economies in the world, as chances are that even a smaller country can have enough prospects to drive your marketing at a fraction of the cost. So I've seen examples where in one of the top 3 or 5 countries in terms of economy that speak English might be like $8 a lead, whereas you could target an English-speaking place that's much smaller and get them for 50 cents a lead. Now, even if, let's say, the US lead at $8 is more likely to buy, the question is, are they, is that lead 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times more likely to buy? Because if you can get 16 leads for every 1 US lead elsewhere, even if the 50-cent leads can convert at 1/4 as much, you'll still make more. So it's just something that you want to look out for and think of as well, especially if if you're looking to create $1 billion business, chances are you'll have to go to one of the larger economies. But I mean, if you're looking to make a decent living online, or even have a multi-million-dollar business, oftentimes a lot of those smaller places will have plenty of prospects and can be just fine right there at a fraction of the cost. Even within a given country like the US, not all locations are treated equal, and people rarely dive into the stats. And you might find that, hey, people on the East Coast buy more, or people on the North versus South buy more or less, or on the West Coast, or in a certain state, or a certain province or region, or whatever it might be. They might have completely different stats and completely different results, but people rarely look into that. And when you run a Facebook ad, there's actually a way to do that. Now, it's kind of hard to do it by hand, especially if you have a lot of ad sets, which you basically want, but there's a little tab called Breakdown, and if you click on that on any of your ad sets, it'll give you kind of you can choose how you want to break it down by age, by gender, and a bunch of stuff like that, and location, and you can kind of see where most of the buyers or most of the leads might be from, and so on. But you don't have to worry about the hard way of doing that, because it's almost impossible to actually do that on a larger scale if you have a bunch of ad sets. And it's even quite hard to do on a smaller scale. So we'll actually give you a free tool to help with that at the end of this call right there, which is why I won't explain how to basically do it the hard way, because there's no need to do it that way. And on that note too, when you create an ad itself, and you absolutely want to make sure to grab their attention and have a great offer, because you only have a second or two to grab someone's attention. So make sure that your ad stands out, is easy to read, which is a big one. Oftentimes people have like these really long complex ads that is really hard to read. They don't like pop out at all, and you might as well not have an ad at that point. And you also want to have a clear and concise message that clearly tells them what your offer is and why they should get it. Now, a rule of thumb I have with that is that if you have an offer, I want you to, like, right now in your head, or write it down, or whatever you want, explain your offer in one sentence, and make it be a short one too. You can't have like and this and this and this and that. Explain it in like a single, fairly short sentence on what your offer is and why it's good. And oftentimes what you'll find is people kind of have an issue with that, where they'll need like a page to explain what their offer is, and after they explain it, you don't quite know, and you question if they know what their offer is, or if they know what the value of it is. So again, you should have a very clear and concise and what I call almost like a dumbed down offer that says exactly what your message is. And the other thing here is, despite how Facebook oftentimes suggests that you shouldn't have text in in the actual, if you have like a graphic or like an image, they say it's best not to have a lot of text. Now, the rule of thumb there is you can't have more than a fifth of that space basically having text on it. But they oftentimes say if you have no text is basically the best way. But we found the opposite to be true, and the vast majority of other marketers we know also say the exact same thing, that you want to have at least a little text on the ad, but you want to make sure, or text on the ad graphic, I should say, but you want to make sure that the message is super clear and precise on that. So if you're giving away like a free account or something for a free, bluntly say it right there, like get a free whatever, and have it be like super obvious, and have the message be really clear and precise. So again, if you're trying to give away like a free analysis, or a free tool, or a free whatever, say so bluntly. Or say like a quick one line on what basically your offer is right there, so it really pops out, and make the text pop out, make the color pop, and make it super easy to see. You also want to use the image and the text to clearly repeat your offer. So you want to not only have like maybe like a little line of text on the graphic itself that says what your offer is, but also on the text that you can type above it, make sure you clearly say what your offer is there. So I mean, don't just think, well, say, well, gee, I have it mentioned, on the text above the graphic here, so I don't need to mention it on the graphic, or I mentioned it on the graphic, so I don't need to mention it on the text above. No, you want to mention it basically everywhere, because you never know where someone is paying attention to, and you want to make sure that whatever offer you have clearly pops out and stands out. You also want to make, on that same note, make links obvious and plentiful. Most ads will just have the default learn more button that goes to their page, or goes to where they want to send basically their traffic to. However, you'll want to make sure that you have your link in the text field of the ad. So that's basically the text that you see above the ad itself, or above the graphic. You want to make sure that you have the link that you want to send them to present there as well. And as a little side note, if you repeat the link twice in the text area, it might look a little weird, but it can increase your click-through rates as well. So if you have two links on two different lines on the text above, of course you want to have some actual like text, like you want to repeat your offer above right there. The more often you have your link, the more likely people are to click through, because you might think, hey, it's pretty obvious that you have to click the learn more to go to the page. A lot of people don't think in the obvious way. like they'll think, okay, how do I get this? And they'll, you know, and they'll be clueless. In fact, you wouldn't think that this would make a major difference, but by basically having a link present in the text above the graphic, oftentimes, like, you know, you shouldn't be shocked if you can like greatly reduce your cost per click by a third or more in a lot of cases, which you wouldn't think it would increase by that much, but it actually can help a great deal right there. So and I think now it could be for any number of reasons, but the reason why I think that isn't, basically doesn't really matter why, it just matters that it basically works. But the reason why I think it is because, again, people like to be told exactly what to do, and if they see a link, they're more likely to click it. So the more you have, the more likely they are to click through. The less you have, the less likely they are to click whatever. So you always want to be super, super blunt. Likewise, like if you write, like, let's say a blog post and you're recommending a product, if you just have like a simple link at the bottom, you know, you might get some clicks and stuff like that, but if you make it crystal clear and say, hey, you know, click here to get, you know, the best deal on blah, blah, you'll get a lot more people to click just by saying click here. Because again, even though there's a link there, people don't always necessarily know to click it, as dumb as that sounds. But if you say click here, naturally the reaction is more likely to be like, oh, they want me to click here, that's probably where this deal is. On the flip side too, I've also seen guys that will do like a video or stuff like that. They'll show off a cool product, but they won't have an obvious link or like an obvious way where people can grab it or buy the actual offer, and that's just being really dumb and wasting a lot of money. The other thing that you want to do is encourage and monitor the comments on your ads. For some ads, it can make sense to encourage people to comment, as this can help reduce your ad costs. And here's the reason why we think that is. So Facebook wants to make sure that the ads that you have, people basically like. And one of the things that they use to determine that is how much they interact with it, or do basically stuff like leave a comment or stuff like that. So if you get a lot of comments, not only is that a very good sign for you in Facebook's eyes, but it can also get other people to see the comments of their friends and stuff and start to encourage some kind of like an interaction and get more free traffic essentially. And because I think it makes it look like your ad's good, as long as the comments are like mostly good, because they probably monitor for like basically bad words and stuff like that, Facebook in return will reward you with cheaper ad costs. However, on that note, you should monitor all comments in all ads, as a few bad ones can actually discourage others from taking action. And you might think that this only happens if you have like a bad offer or a scammy offer, but that's not true. You can have the best offer in the world, and you'll always get some bad comments for whatever reason. And you'll be shocked at how rude some people can be. Like, you can have, let's say, an ad selling, I don't know, flowers, and someone will start to either trash talk like Obama, or they'll trash talk Trump, or, you know, it'll go into like a huge mess. It's like, dude, this has nothing to do with the flowers that are being sold, but people go off on like crazy tangents. Or like using the flower example, don't be shocked if like someone says how, you know, they hate those flowers, the flowers look ugly and blah blah, just because, like, let's say they like roses, but the flowers that you have in the picture are some other kind of flower. Okay, like, people, there's just sometimes like very mean, rude people out there, and it's nothing necessarily against your product or anything, but realize that they're out there, so you have to monitor that. And one of the things that you should do is, if you get someone saying like a crazy comment, or even like sometimes you'll get guys trying to advertise their own stuff in your comments, which obviously you don't want. Instead of deleting the comments, you can choose to hide them. So there's a little option. If you click to the right of the comment, you can either delete it or you can hide it. I would encourage you to hide it, which basically means that the original user that basically posts it can see it, but no one else can, because Facebook will I think look at the ones that you delete, because they might think, hey, if they delete too many, that might be a bad sign that something's wrong with the ad. Whereas for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to affect it as much if you choose to hide it instead there. So you want to always make sure to watch that, regardless of what you sell or have there. Even if you offer something for free, you'll still get like at least some crazy comments in time. Another thing is that you'll want to make sure that you understand the difference between optimizing for leads versus sales. So when you do an ad, you can optimize for stuff like the amount of traffic. You can optimize towards leads or towards sales. In the majority of cases, I would recommend optimizing for leads or sales versus traffic or essentially clicks, because if you optimize towards only clicks, you'll get very, very cheap clicks and such, but oftentimes the people that click the most aren't necessarily the ones that turn into leads or sales. So it might look like really neat to say, hey, look, I got clicks for only a few cents, but at the end of the day, if you got 1 million clicks at a few cents and you made nothing, and you didn't get one lead, congratulations on the super cheap clicks, but that's about all that they're worth is, a screenshot that looks neat. Not worth any money outside of that, right there. So I recommend optimizing for, usually leads or sales in the majority of cases. There are always exceptions to the rule there. And although you should almost always ideally try to get leads, in some way, shape, or form, and that's because once you have a lead, you can market to them for essentially free, almost as much as you want in the future, and get a lot more out of them. There's a major difference between optimizing for leads versus sales. Even if you have like an opt-in page, there's a major difference. Oftentimes, optimizing for sales will get sales for a decent chunk less, but your leads might be 3 to 8 times or more the cost. So it's something that you want to think about a little bit there, and you want to, know, well, what is the value, of those leads? Do you have much of a back end? Do you make a lot off those leads? Was that worth to you? Even the best time of day to advertise might vary depending upon your targeting. So in some cases, you might see that, hey, the best time to advertise for leads, might be, let's say at nighttime, whereas the best time for sales might be in the morning time, or it might be the complete opposite, depending upon the niche and stuff. So you want to make sure that you clearly understand what your actual goal is, and if you're trying to get just sales at a cheap price, or leads at a cheap price, or what, right there. You also want to closely monitor and test both options and take into consideration your price points, because there's a few tips on when to use one over the other that I have. So one is, what price point do you have? If you have like a super cheap price point, like let's say you're selling something for like $5 or so, it might make more sense to test a bit more on optimizing for sales, because at that point, you're more likely to get a lot of sales, and you can optimize fairly quickly at the $5 range. Whereas if you're selling a product for $5,000, unless you have a massive budget, you're probably not about to get a ton of sales, at least anytime soon. So in that case, it'd be very hard to optimize for sales. You might want to optimize for leads instead, knowing that, hey, usually for every X amount of leads, you eventually get a sale. You can optimize for leads and get a very optimized ad set very, very quickly. So that's basically the higher the price point, the more you want to maybe consider leads instead. Whereas the lower the price point, you might want to look at sales instead. Now, ultimately, you'll want to test both of those and see, but that's just basically a rule of thumb right there. Another tip is the more mass appeal your product or your offer has, typically it means the cheaper the ad costs will be. So the more mass appeal, but by like the more generic the product is, or the more it appeals to essentially the masses or everyone, the more likely it will cost a lot less to advertise. Likewise, the more broad that you advertise with, you're more likely to still get good results at the same time. So if you have, like, let's say, a mass appeal product that appeals to a lot of people, you can basically target a more broad base and still get a lot of sales at a cheaper price. Whereas if you basically target a super specific, like, let's say you target only people that watch this one show that are also Democrats, that are also women, that are also between the ages of 40 and 50, and that also like this and like that. The more specific you get, sometimes the higher your ad cost can be. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, right there. So you want to really know who your audience is when you try to target stuff like very specifically down. And the more broad you go, if you have an offer that's more mass appeal, oftentimes Facebook will kind of optimize a lot of stuff for you right there, and can get you good results. So you might basically target more broad-based, like, hey, I want to advertise to all women over the age of 40, or all women over the age of 40 that are Democrats, or more broad like that. Oftentimes can get a lot cheaper, clicks, and therefore leads and sales if you have a mass appeal offer. Now, if you have a specific offer, you might, if you really know your market, you can pinpoint that down, even more. But you have to really know who your market is and who your prospect is to make sure you get the best bang for your buck right there. Now, the only time that you wouldn't want to consider a more broad market is if you have like a specific product that would only appeal to a very small segment, out there. In that case, of course, you want to basically pinpoint down as much as possible right from the get-go there. Now, another thing is free plus shipping and handling, and also what I call impulse buys can be an awesome way to advertise on Facebook, or basically anywhere. Any impulse buy typically is something under the $20 range. For whatever reason, if you go over the $20 range, I think a lot of people tend not to take as much action as quickly, because if it's under 20, a lot of people don't have to think much about it, and it can be far easier to get sales faster. It's kind of like, if there's let's say there's a cool gadget, and you see that, hey, it's on sale for $5, and you think it looks neat, you're probably just going to buy it. Whereas if it's like a cool gadget and it's like $100, you probably won't just buy it, even if you think it's really, really cool. You might buy it, but you'll probably do some research first. You'll probably think about it. You might price compare more. You'll probably put a lot more time into it, and the more time you put into it, the less likely you are to buy. So it's especially from day one. So you want to definitely think about how you can have basically impulse buys, or basically cheaper price points, especially on the front end, to try to increase the amount of sales that you get there. Now, free plus shipping can be a great way to get an impulse buy right here. Typically for that, you'd want to test basically stuff in the range of $4 to $10 for the shipping. But of course, you absolutely have to make sure that you have a good funnel and a back end, because it's very hard to make like essentially a profit off of something that you're paid $5 for. Because like let's say you do some awesome research and you find some stuff on AliExpress, which is AliExpress.com, which you can basically drop ship almost anything, basically from China to anywhere in the world, at a cheap price there. Let's say you sell something for free plus the $5 to ship, and let's say the raw cost to you is like, I don't know, $2. Okay, you might say, oh yay, you're making $3 a sale, but that's not entirely true. You're making $3 a sale if your advertising cost is nothing. And typically, if you can get a sale for three bucks, you'd be doing an insanely good job. So you want to make sure that you have a funnel with that. Like you want to have at least a couple upsells. You want to take advantage of those leads and sell more stuff. So you want to turn that $5 sale into like a 10 or 15 buck sale, or even a 20 buck sale, where all of a sudden, if you spend $5 in ads to get that $5 sale, on the front end alone, you might be losing a couple bucks, but on the back end, you'd be making a lot more. And that's, you know, a good thing. Now, here's an interesting thing, okay? How you word stuff can make a major difference in how easily you get the sales. For instance, let's say you find like that $2 product and you want to sell it for $5. If you say it costs $5 and the shipping's free, you'll typically find that you'll get a lot less sales than if you say it's free, just pay the $5 for shipping and handling. Now, at the end of the day, the cost is identical, it's $5. But to the users, free plus shipping and handling for whatever reason, they see that as a much better deal than $5 with free shipping. Even though, like, logically we all know it's the exact same thing. Like, I mean, I'm sure every one of you on this call knows that both of those are $5. No one's like shocked, like, whoa, one's actually, you know, the exact same deal. I had no clue. So even though like we all know it's the exact same deal, by saying it's free, we think it's an awesome deal. We think it's a much better deal. Yeah, so just again, keep that in mind right there. Even though they're the exact same deals, how you word it can make a major difference. With a good funnel and back end, it's okay to break even on day one, or even in some cases lose a little bit. And here's why and why that works. So again, let's use the $5 example. So let's say you sell something for $5 and it costs you $2. Okay, so on paper you'd be making a $3 profit if you had no ad costs. But again, realistically, you won't sell something with no ad costs. So you know, let's say it costs you $3 to make that sale. You'd be break even at $5. That's still an awesome deal because all those leads are free at that point. But even if, let's say, it costs you $5 or $10 to make that sale, you might say, well, $10 makes no sense. A lot of people might think that. So it's like, okay, so $10 is what it would cost you to get that sale. You sell it for $5, your cost is $2. So it's really, you know, really $12 in cost to get a $5 sale. You're losing $7 on the front end. A lot of people would say, well, hell no, I would never do an offer like that because I'd be losing $7 for each sale. Well, not so fast, because if you have maybe a couple upsells, you might find that you get a lot more than $5 back. And you might find that, hey, not only might you get a couple upsells on day one, but on top of that, those leads can be worth a lot of money and they can buy more and more stuff from you. Because like if they buy, let's say, a cat toy, you know that what? Most likely they have a cat or they really like to play with cat toys. Either way, that's perfectly fine because you can sell them more cat toys and more stuff and other things related to cats at that point. Or if they buy, let's say, an internet marketing course, you know that they're interested in internet marketing, or and there's a whole heap of things that you could possibly sell them right there. So they could be worth a lot more to you than just that. That's why if you've ever seen like an infomercial at night, a lot of times the deals that you see, they don't necessarily make a lot of money, if anything, on just that, but it's on the upsells on all the other stuff that they make a lot more on right there. So you know, keep that in mind. And with that, you also want to know your lifetime value and the stats there. How much is a lead or sale worth to you on day one? How much is it worth to you a month later or 6 months down the line? A lot of people don't know any of the numbers that I just said. So, in fact, I'd say probably 95% of the people I talk to have zero idea. Of the 5% that do, the majority of those just have a general idea. Knowing these numbers will let you spend more to acquire more leads and sales more quickly than your than your competition can. So let's say you know that the value of, or that the lifetime value of the $5 sale, let's say you know it's $30. In that case, if you spent $15 to get that $5 sale, you'd think, hey, that's a pretty awesome deal because you're doubling your money. Whereas the competitors might say, why would I spend 3 times the value of what I get up front? And they'll not grow, they'll not spend, and they'll lose out to you big time in the long run. So make sure you know that. Also, there's a major difference in the type of pages that you promote or send your traffic to. So typically there's 3 different kinds of pages. Now, of course, you could also do like a video ad and stuff like that too. But for like page-wise, there's either like a news or blog post. There's either like an opt-in page, or there's basically straight to like a sales page. News posts or blog posts that you advertise typically will get the cheapest clicks. Not in all cases, but this is just as a whole. But they'll get less leads and sales. So you'll need to really qualify them well and use this only if the strategy makes sense. And here's when it might make the most sense. So let's say you're selling a fairly expensive item, like let's say it's $1,000 to $5,000, or even like tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, you're probably not about to send them straight to a sales page for like a $10,000 product and have a lot of people buy. I mean, maybe you have like the best product in the world, but even then I doubt it. Same with like an opt-in page. Okay, if it's a really expensive thing and they know it is, they might be far less likely to opt in. But if it's like a news post on like let's say, I don't know, like let's say you sell like a very efficient water heater, okay? Like some new technology that's really, really good, but it might be like a $3,000 thing, okay? You might have a blog post on how the average household can save, let's say, hundreds and hundreds of dollars a year, or even like 1,000 or more a year, and have instant heat for a nearly unlimited amount of time, in their showers and stuff, and how that all works. And then the news post or the blog post can be on, how the new technology works, what the average savings would be, how long the heat would last, just like a bunch of stuff like that. And it's done almost like, you're not selling them per se, but they're getting a lot of stats, a lot of figures and stuff like that, where at the end of the blog post, they might think, well, gee, even though it's like $2,000 or $3,000, that sounds really nice. And I can justify it because, in 3 years, I make basically, essentially the money back just in the savings, and I get all these benefits in the meantime. And then, so they're kind of more pre-sold at that point. And then at the end of it, at the end of the blog post, you can say to get like, a free estimate for your house, or do whatever, register here or enter your email here, or basically check out the page here. Likewise, if you're selling like let's say you're like a high-end coach, okay, you can give like a case study of, hey, here's how this business essentially doubled their sales with a 10-minute trick. And it might be like a simple method that you essentially taught them, or anything like that. You can give an example of what they did and how it worked, and anyone that reads that is interested in how to double their own business, of course, but they're reading on what happened to this guy right here. And then after they read that whole thing, they're convinced of, wow, that really made a lot of sense. Wow, those methods worked, and wow, whoever helped them knows what they're doing. That's really neat. And naturally, they'll think, I want them to help me too. So then you can have a quick call to action at the very end, saying, if you're interested in having so-and-so work with you, just fill out this form here, or sign up for this free call, or whatever you might want right there. That can be a great way to get, especially the higher end, type prospects, essentially. Now, as for like an opt-in page, typically these will get the cheapest leads, but the clicks will be a lot more, and you have to have a really, really good opt-in page. Because again, for you want to maximize the amount of conversions you get and not waste a bunch of traffic. Now, here's a hint. The simpler, the better in most cases. A lot of people have like a really long opt-in page because they think they have to convince people to basically give up their email, and they'll have like a multi-page opt-in page, and typically those don't work the best. If you have a short and precise message that's super easy, those tend to work the best, because if it takes you longer than a sentence, than like basically a sentence or two to explain your offer, chances are you're doing something wrong. So oftentimes the simpler, the better. And sending the traffic straight to a sales page typically only makes sense if it's a super cheap price point. So if you're trying to send basically traffic, or you're considering sending straight to a sales page, that usually only makes sense if it's a super cheap price point. And by that I mean basically under the $20 range. And even then, you'd want to basically test that versus straight to an opt-in page first, where you grab that lead and then they see your special offer. So you want to test both of those right there. But if it's a higher price point item, definitely, you can always test it, but usually it's much more hard to make that sale when they go straight to that sales page there. Now, for this next bit right here, I want to talk about basically placements and where to advertise within Facebook. So you'll want to test this yourself a lot, as this can be as this can basically vary a lot by the niche. But different types of placements for your ads can have drastically different results. For instance, for one business we helped, only 15% of their ad spend was being spent on desktop right side ads. Those are, you have like newsfeed ads which appear in the main newsfeed. The desktop right side ones are those little square boxes on like the right side, of Facebook. Yet, even though only 15% of their ad spend was being spent on those were making the majority of their sales. Now, this isn't the case, in other markets or with other advertisers, so it can be the complete opposite, but you want to know your numbers. A lot of times people never even bother to check that. And again, you can see that by looking in the breakdowns of every ad set. But again, we have a tool that can automatically make that super easy and sum up like tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of data in a simple, easy to read way, which we'll show you in just a bit right here. In another example, mobile ads were getting much cheaper clicks, but they weren't converting as much on day one. So they were getting, some good leads, but not necessarily sales. So in this case, it was more important to follow up with those leads a lot more than on basically like a desktop placement where your ads are only on people that use like basically a desktop or like a laptop. They were more likely to get sales there, but it was basically costing, more. So it's stuff that you want to look at and, see, hey, what truly is the best place for you to place your ads at? And ultimately, you'll want to look at the data to determine that. You also want to test many ad sets and at least a couple of clones of each if you have a larger budget. You'll want to test many ad sets instead of just one or two big ones, despite what Facebook might say. Because from our personal experience, we've seen that the exact opposite of what Facebook oftentimes says is best tends to be what works best. Like they oftentimes say, hey, only have like one or two or three ad sets and have them be like large ones. Whereas we found that oftentimes it's smarter to have a bunch of ad sets versus just like one or two huge ones. And a lot of people that we know that do similar things to us have said the exact same things that they found too. So keep that in mind. And you also want to essentially test a lot of different ad sets, because you might get completely different results on some, because even identical ad set clones, or essentially exact clones, can have vastly different results. So you might have two identical ad sets. They look the same, they target the exact same, they might be identical in every way, shape, or form, and one might get sales at like $8 per sale, and one might get sales at like $50 a sale for like, you know, let's say like a $20 item. Now, you might say, well, how is that possible? Especially if this has been like, you know, if you've checked and it's been like, you know, a week or two, and you see that consistently one has super cheap sales and one has like really expensive sales. Why is that so if they're identical? Well, there's a lot of reasons why we think. One is Facebook can try to optimize for every ad set, and sometimes they optimize in a bad way. And on top of that, we think that every time you create an ad set, you're randomly put in with like a different group of advertisers that you compete with for the exact same people. And sometimes you're put against guys with like huge budgets that spend a ton of dough and don't really care what the results are, and it can drive up your cost big time. And sometimes you're put in groups where no one knows what they're doing. They all have super smaller budgets or bids, and you might be like the biggest fish in that small pond, whereas other times you might be the smallest fish in your pond. So that's why you always want to basically test that and have multiple ad sets, in our opinion there. And also you want to keep in mind some ad sets can go from good to bad almost overnight, but don't necessarily give up on them immediately. If it lasts for a while, like let's say it's not just like 1 or 2 bad days, try reducing the ad spend and waiting a couple of days to see what happens. Because it's okay to have like a weird day where like it costs more, but if it lasts for like 2 or 3 days, it's probably a sign that something's up. And if it's nothing obvious, like if it's not like a holiday or something else that might basically drive up costs, try reducing the ad spend, waiting a few days, and see if that helps right there, because oftentimes that can help. You also want to make sure to use custom audiences, lookalikes, and retargeting. So a custom audience, that's basically where you can target only people that have some kind of a relationship with your business, like they're a visitor on your site, a lead or a sale, or someone that's watched a video or whatever. Since these are typically your best of the best, you can get really good results selling more stuff to them because they know you more. So if you use the custom audience, you can not only get much better results right there, but you can basically target your best of the best prospects very, very easily and reduce your ad costs and all that. Lookalikes are based on a custom audience, which is where Facebook can basically target people that look like your targeted custom audience. So maybe they like the same stuff or they act the same way. It's a bunch of stuff that Facebook looks at. If you do this, you can target much more broadly or even not at all and still get great results. For instance, let's say you sell, I don't know, let's say you sell the cable cords, okay, for like phones and stuff. You know, if previously you were trying to target like people that own this phone and, you know, had this kind of budget and were in this age range or were this gender, so on and so forth, if you have a lookalike, you don't even have to target as much down. You could just say, hey, I want to target anyone that just has this phone, okay? And you don't even have to worry about the age or the gender, because you know with the lookalike, they're already looking at a bunch of stuff like that. So you can basically target a more broad-based and get like oftentimes cheaper clicks and such, but with the benefit of having the lookalike. So something that you can test right there. But in all cases, you'll want to also do retargeting of your leads, because you know, and that's, you know, not only retargeting of the leads, but also people who don't buy, people who watch a portion of your videos, so on and so forth, as they'll be the ones most likely to know you and buy from you in the future. So it's actually one of the cheapest way to get more sales and leads is to retarget the people that have some kind of an existing relationship with you or have seen you and such like that. And oftentimes the examples you see online of people that get like really cheap leads or like really cheap sales, like ones that don't make any sense, where it's like, hey, they spend $10 and made like $1,000 sale. 99% of the time, that's on a retargeted person essentially. So that means that it's someone that they've already had a relationship with, or that they've already gotten to their site to start with, and they just retarget them right there. So you definitely want to make sure that you do that. Also, you don't want to grow too fast. So if you have a really good ad set, leave it. And here's why. Because if something's working really well, like let's say you spend $1 and get $10 back, that's a good thing. Leave it, let it be. Because you don't want to mess around with it and risk it basically re-optimizing and ruining itself. Instead, try to clone the really good ones, or increase the budget on just the good ones, but not the really good ones, to see what happens. And here's how you do that. So if a budget is less than $100 a day, double it until you get to $100. If at $100 or more, increase by only about 20% and wait a couple to a few days to see what happens. And then either increase or decrease by similar amounts going forward from that point on. Because for whatever reason, if you grow too fast at times, oftentimes Facebook will basically optimize in a way where they'll think, gee, okay, he likes sales at $5 a sale, but I see he essentially doubled his ad spend. Then oftentimes your cost might go from $5 to $10, so you'll get the exact same amount of sales just for twice the price. And you can guess as to why that might be, but we found that typically as a whole, increasing it by just about a fifth for a budget larger than 100 seems to be the way to go right there. And by also having several ad sets that you can do this to at the same time versus just one. Now, most importantly, know your data. The difference between doing great and doing horribly at Facebook ads oftentimes comes down to whether or not you know your data. That's why we actually decided to help all of you by giving you access to a light version of one of our tools that can automatically analyze your ads for you. If you decide you want to basically use its more advanced features, like having it automatically optimize and manage your ads, you can upgrade it at a discount there as well. So here's what that tool basically is. For the free light version right here, you can get a free report from any Facebook ad that you have. And here's basically a breakdown of what the report looks like right here. So this is basically the top half. I'll show you the bottom half in a second right here. And there's more than just that, but this is like the main part right here. So it'll basically tell you where your cheapest leads or sales are from, what your target market is. Like right here, we see, hey, newsfeed is a good place. Men that are essentially middle age are good. We have three states that seem to be the best regions for cheap leads, and we get a variety of different times that seem to be the best times right there. And this is off of an optimized campaign right here, where we're already getting fairly cheap leads. And on sales, this is basically the bottom half of the report. We see a bunch of info right there where we say, hey, the cheapest sales come from the news feed and people that have an iPhone. Even though it might have nothing to do with an iPhone, people that have an iPhone for whatever reason might be better in this case. And in this case, the best sales came from older men. And the cheapest regions might be completely different than the cheapest ones for leads, and the times a day where we got the sales were completely different in this case right here. So it will give you a complete breakdown where it looks at, again, like tons and tons and tons and tons of data, and breaks it down in a super easy to read fashion based on an ad set or even an entire campaign. So you can do this on the level of an ad set or even an entire campaign. So really quite neat right there. And if you want to take advantage of the special freebie that will help basically analyze and give you a free report for your Facebook ads, make sure you go to this link right here, automatedads.com/register to get the free report tool right there to give you a report of your Facebook account right there, or of your Facebook ads, I should say, right there. And as a side note, if you choose to later, if you want to use it to do a lot more stuff, you can as well. There's a special offer to do an upgrade because the advanced version can automatically optimize your ad sets for you and look at tons of other things, and it will automatically pick the best of the best ways to optimize your ad sets, and it can even automatically manage it for you as well if you choose the upgrade after that. But if you just want the free report, you can go there right now and take advantage of that, which we thought we'd make this light version available for everyone because we thought it could help a lot of people. So that's why we made that available for you. So again, just go to automatedads.com/register to take advantage of that free offer. And of course, if you have any questions at all regarding Facebook ads or anything else, feel free to ask us right now. And I know that was a longer call than normal right there, so we'll have this be kind of like a shorter Q&A than we oftentimes have. But you can continue to ask any questions. I know Sean and Sharon have been answering a lot of you. And after that, or right now, I should say, to have a chance to win $100 right now, where we'll do the drawing live in just a couple minutes, you can go to getwebfire.com/FB group. That will take you to the free Facebook group. Make sure you click join if you're not a member of that yet, and you'll get approved probably within a minute. And Sharon has a post towards the very top that asks what you thought of today's call. It's probably dated from about an hour ago or so. If you leave a comment within there, try not to leave it under in like some weird other post. Leave it within there. So just click essentially the comment on that post right there. We'll pick a random comment within a couple minutes, and we'll do we'll actually do a random drawing live, or you'll see that we'll pick it at random in just a couple minutes. So make sure you leave a comment right now, and just leave one. So don't try to game the system and leave a few or anything like that. So just leave one, and we'll pick a winner in just a minute or two right here. And it can be any comment you want, like what you thought of the call, what you liked, or even a suggestion for like a future call or anything like that is perfectly fine. And of course, we always love likes and shares and all that stuff too. So feel free to do that as well. But with that, Sean, have you seen any comments or anything, or any kind of questions that have yet to be answered? And again, as a side note, guys, this is that link for the free offer there. And if
okay, that was the first thing. And yes, after you opt in, you'll get redirected to the Automated Ads login page, and then check your email. That's one thing, Brian, that we need an explanation of. If it's not there, that after they opt in, they need to check their email for their unique login code to log into Automated Ads at that point. Okay, we did that. Hang on one second. Whoops. So Tony has a question. He's got an ad set that's made 5 sales at $11 a sale for a $90 product in the last 5 days. What's the best thing he should do? And hang on, because he followed this up with, I'm trying to pick this out of all these other questions. They tried cloning the ad set and that didn't work. The budget for the ad set is $10 a day. So what can he do?
So
it's a good problem, first of all. You're making money.
So just make sure I caught all that. He's spending $10 a day, and it's a $90 product, right?
Yes.
And he got how many?
Well, he's gotten his cost per sale of the $90 product is $11.
Okay.
So I don't know what his profit margin is, but Tony's clearly profitable.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a great that's a great cost for a $90 sale to spend 11 bucks. So hopefully that's a very good margin right there. But there's actually a few things that you can do. One, first and foremost, use the tool right here to break down your ad and see what it says. Now, also, like, I don't know exactly how long that's been or how many sales that you've gotten from that, because if it's just like one sale, it's hard to basically analyze a single sale. If it's like a bunch of sales, like let's say 10 or 20 sales, it's easier to kind of see some kind of basically trends and stuff. But definitely use what you see right here, and it will kind of give you like a breakdown of like what the best way to basically target those guys are, and you can upgrade if you want as well, and it can automatically optimize the ad sets for you based upon a lot of data to really target what it thinks the best of the best buyers out there are. But on that note too, what you should try right off the bat as well is to also don't just clone. I mean, you can clone it like once or twice and see, but you should also do a clone on a higher daily ad spend too. So if you made a $90 sale for 11 bucks, and let's say that like half or 2/3 of that is is let's say profit, or let's say half, or whatever it might be, you should definitely up your ad spend to see if you can get some faster results with that as well. Because if you're basically getting a sale for 11 bucks, which is great, if your daily budget is 10 bucks, that basically means on average it takes you more than a day to get any kind of actual data. So if you test a new ad, you have to wait like typically probably at least a few days to really get any kind of worthwhile data back, probably more like a week to get any kind of data back. Whereas if you say, hey, I'm going to try to do a new test, and I'll test a $50 a day budget here, and that does not mean you have to run it for a week or anything like that. But if you run it for like a day or two, you'll probably know pretty quickly if it seems to be working or not right there. And you can also use the tool right here to kind of get a breakdown of what your better market might be. Like, is it men? Is it women? What's their age range? Is the ad placement, is it basically the desktop right side? Is it in the news feed? Is it mobile? And a bunch of other stuff on top of that right there. But definitely look at the breakdown right there and go from there. And then after that, try to think of some new things that you can target as well and test too there. But yeah, that's actually a great start. But definitely try to get some faster results there and test on a larger budget first and see. Anything else, Sean?
Michelle says the site is broken, but I can access it, and I know people are accessing it because somebody else said they didn't get their login details yet.
Yep. Make sure you type that link in exactly, or Sean or
and Mike's having a problem getting set. I put Sharon put the link in the chat box, so you can just click on it.
Yep.
So let's click on it and try that too. When Nima said first time she entered her email, she had trouble, but the second time it worked. Hang on, did click the link, didn't get the email. Yeah, it'll take a minute for the email to go because the login details have to trigger out of the system and come back to you. Oh, Mike said he's on the website but didn't get the, okay. Yeah, you'll get it in a minute. And some people are saying they're getting, when you're seeing an error, oops, something went wrong, guys, are you seeing that after you enter your email address or before? Russell, the answer is yes. I like the easy questions. Okay, after they enter the email address. So I don't know why they're getting a weird thing after they enter an email address, Brian. Anyway, it's hard giving away free stuff.
Yeah, unless they're already a user. That's the only thing I could possibly think of offhand. But if it worked the second time, it's not. But if there's any issue or anything like that, you can just send a message to our support, and I'll have Sharon will put that link up on the chat right now for you guys, just in case. It looks like it's working for most of you. And once again, I was asked for the giveaway link. It's just right there, getwebfire.com/FB group. If you leave a comment on the post on what you thought on today's call, I will pick a random person in about a minute time, and the link for the free offer is just right here, automateads.com/register.
Yeah, several people said that it didn't, for whatever reason, didn't work the first time they did it. They hit the back button, entered it a second time, and it worked. So we might want to put those directions on there. Yeah, there's like 4 people have now said that. Yeah.
Okay.
So we might want to have our programmer add that to the page that says.
We actually just made this free offer. So yeah, we'll test to make sure why that might be for us. But yeah, if it gives like a weird message the first time, just hit back, and for right now, sign up a second time. It should be fine. But we'll have them look at that right now and see why that might be anyway. Alrighty, so I'm gonna pause the screen for a second as I go over here. Just go into the Facebook group page.
Yeah, Captain said you got to do it 3 times. I tell you what, sometimes you got to work really hard. All right, glad you're getting there now. Okay. And if for some reason you guys don't get the login details in a few minutes, then just contact support. But it should be coming in. It just takes a little bit of time because it generates on our server immediately, but it's got to wind its way through the internet to get to you.
Yep. All right. So here's the page right here.
Oh yeah, and John says it might take a while because he's in Canada, because it's a long way from the States.
So you just want to leave a comment right here. You'll see the post at the top right here. Just click on the comment and leave it right there. And I'll give you guys maybe 10 seconds to leave a comment there. And all right, 10.
Yeah, those of you looking for the login details, make sure you check your spam folder just in case it snuck over there.
8,
3,
7,
2, 1,
6,
blast off.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So we have, I'll count the ones outside first. I'll count this as 1, the high. 2, 3, 4, plus a 4, 6. So 52 in total. Someone's typing right now. Actually, it'd be 51 in total because this person wrote twice right there. So whoever's typing, finish it up. Give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, too late. 51. All right. So 1 to 51. What one do you think is the winner, Sean?
17.
17? All right, let's see. 42.
Oh, see, I was, okay, so not close today.
All right, so what was it? 42. So 51, I have to count backwards and skip like this would count as 1. So 51, I'll count backwards. It was 42. Yeah. Oops. All right. 51, 50, 49. This counts as 1, so 48. That counts as 1, 47. All right.
Man, they're making you work today.
I know. 46, 45, 44, 43, 42. All right. John Halloran. if you studied at the University of Minnesota and you currently live close to there, and you don't have a picture on your profile, congratulations. You are $100 wealthier to you today, or you will be as soon as you post up your PayPal email to Sharon in the chat box. So make sure to post up that, and she'll get you $100 over to you a day shortly this afternoon, or as soon as you post up your PayPal email there. So again, congratulations to John Halloran on being this week's winner right here. And with that, again, make sure you all take advantage of that free software, which you should have the link for. It's just automatedads.com/register, and you can get that for free. If there's a problem or anything like that, just click back and re-sign up, and it should be fine. But we'll have our guys look at that really quick. It's probably some easy thing that was missed, because that was just made as a freebie, like just recently. They just actually tweaked the stuff there probably like 1 or 2 hours ago to get that up, because we thought that'd be a pretty cool thing to offer for free to you guys right there. So with that, guys, if you have any other questions or anything like that, you can feel free to write support at webfire.com. And with that, again, we'll have a new call every week at Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And again, if there's any topics or anything that you'd like us to basically cover, make sure to let us know, because we're always looking for new ideas and stuff. So it helps to see what you guys want to be trained on and such. So with that, guys, we hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next week then. So take care, and we'll talk to you later.